So thank you for being here today to give the grounded reset a try. Reminder that everything offered here is an option, not a requirement. So feel free to do as much or as little as you like. If you have a mat or a blanket and some space that you can work in on the floor, you could also work on a couch or on a bed for some of the reclined options if you like. It's okay to practice seated if that feels better for you, either in a chair or on the mat. So we'll start off here by finding some support for the back. Now, if you're on a mat, that might look like resting on the back. If you're seated in a chair, you might slide your back a little further into your chair so you can feel the support of the backrest. And then your choice. You might bring in a little movement here. That could be a gentle rock. That could be a reach and a stretch. Or it might feel good to settle into some stillness. Notice where your body is supported. Notice where you're touching the mat, the floor, or the chair. You might begin to notice your breath. You don't have to change your breath. Sometimes just noticing it is enough. The breath is always happening in this moment, so that can help us become more present. Or if it feels okay, you might invite your breath to come toward your belly or your low back. That style breath helps engage the diaphragm. That's the big muscle that rests under the lungs. And a diaphragmatic breath is associated with the nervous system being in that more parasympathetic state. When we're stressed, we tend to take shallower breaths more toward the top of the lungs. And if it feels good to let your breath be long and full, allowing your exhale to be leisurely. And some people like sighing the exhale out through the mouth. That's often called a cleansing breath, breathing in through the nose, sighing out through the mouth. As you invite your exhale to be a little longer than your inhale, that can help encourage the body to shift into that parasympathetic state. And an option here to link your body with your breath. So as you exhale, invite your body to settle down into its supports. You might imagine sinking into your mats or settling deeper into your chair. You might choose to rest a hand on your belly and a hand on the ribs. And that can help activate the vagus nerve, which is part of the parasympathetic nervous system. And this might be enough just to stay put as you are, following your breath, inviting softness with the exhale. If you'd like to bring in some gentle movement, you might choose to rock the knees gently side to side. You might rock just an inch or two, or it might feel good to let the knees lower. It's okay if it feels good to keep a hand on your ribs and a hand on your belly while you do. Or you might choose to stretch the arms up and out, or even rest your hands behind your head. That's a shape that tells your body that you're in a safe spot. When you're reclined with hands behind your head, again, if that feels okay for you. This next part sounds funny, but you might also take a look around, a very leisurely look around. If there's a window within view, feel free to glance out the window. And if you can see the horizon, you might take a moment to focus on the horizon. When our eyes have the chance to look out in the distance, when they can move around leisurely, that sends a signal to the body that everything is okay right now. It's like the opposite of scrolling. If you're on a phone and you're scrolling through, it's like your eyes are constantly searching, and it can activate part of your brain that's searching for if there's any danger around. Now you might rest an ankle on top of the opposite thigh here. And this could be enough to be in this shape, or you might choose to lift your foot from the floor. So this figure 4 shape can help bring some attention to the hips. And it's a great place to bring your breath in toward the low back or the belly. Maybe adding a gentle rock side to side. If it feels like there's a lot of tension here, it's okay to rest your foot on the mat. And sometimes when we notice tension in the body, the breath can get more shallow. So mindfully deepening your breath here can help the body know it's okay to be here. And then you might switch sides if that feels okay. Bring an ankle to the top of the opposite thigh. Maybe lifting the foot. Maybe finding a gentle rock. Maybe noticing your breath. And giving yourself permission here to settle in. Eventually, you might start to release the leg and then explore if it would feel good to bring your knees close to the ribs. And if your feet would rather come to the mat, or maybe things would like to stretch out. So, when we're looking at cultivating more of a sense of groundedness, trying to get in connection with more ground or something to anchor to if you're seated in your chair can be helpful. So feel free if you'd like to anchor lots of your body on your mat. It can also feel good to release your low back. If you have the knees tucked in, feel free to rock or circle here. And then we have some choices for our neck shape. So one option is constructive rest. Knees are bent, feet are on the mat, arms cross over the ribs if that's comfortable. And this shape can help decompress your low back. And there are lots of connections you might feel through the shoulders, the hips, the feet, the back of the head to the mat. And this is an option and a shape that's often very useful for bringing us into that more parasympathetic state. It gives a muscle called the psoas muscle, which is working anytime we're seated or standing. It gives that muscle a chance to slacken. And that can be useful as it helps the muscle not only get a break, but have a chance to let nutrients move more readily into that muscle and let waste products and what's no longer serving, let that go. So this is a shape you're welcome to stay in. It can be held by itself for 5, 10, or 20 minutes. If it feels useful, stay put. Or I would also offer you the chance to use your blanket, fold it into a little rectangle to support under the sacrum, under the back of the hips. So it's not pushing into your low back. And here you might allow or invite the feet to float. And this shape is called legs up the wall. And this shape counts as a gentle inversion. So it can be supportive for the heart, for the lymphatic system. If it feels like you'd like some gentle movement, feel free to flex and point your feet, to give your toes a wiggle or stretch. That helps enhance the lymphatic benefits. And some folks like to rest with their palms up here. Others like that hand on the ribs, hand on the belly. And if it feels like it's not comfortable, if it feels like your legs need more support, it's okay if you have a chair or a couch you'd like to rest your heels and calves on. Or if there's a wall handy, feel free to let the heels rest on a wall. You might use your exhales here to imagine the shoulders softening down into the mat. And it's okay in any of these shapes to have your eyes open or to allow the eyes to close at any point if you'd like. You might return to check in with your breath. And taking your time, no rush, no hurry. These are shapes, again, that can be held for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or longer. Or at any point, if you start to notice your body would like to shift out of these shapes, feel free. For legs up the wall, you might bend the knees and lower the feet. It's okay to stay longer if you like. If your feet are on the mat, but the blanket's under the hips, they often call this supported bridge. And this is a spot you can stay in too if you'd like. Or at any point, you might gently lift the hips to slide the blanket out from underneath. And then you might offer a check-in. Would your body like to settle in constructive rest? Inviting stillness and an opportunity to pause and just be. Or would your body like a little movement? An option here is to rock the body to one side. Knees might be drawn toward the ribs or about hip height. You can use your blanket under the head like a pillow if you prefer, or an arm can tuck under. And then you might gently rock the top hip about an inch forward and back. And sometimes people like to give a little push through the top hand on the floor or the mat. And you can explore here. Some people like a very slow rock. Some people like a little quicker, almost like a mini bounce. So this helps to bring us into that parasympathetic side of the nervous system too. And usually there's a point when it feels like you're done rocking, but you might like to settle into the shape. Feel free to pause at any point and do so. And you might notice how you have some different supports, some different parts of your body in contact with the mat here. As you find your exhales, you might invite the body to soften and settle down. And it is okay to stay. This is a shape you can settle into longer if you like. If you're craving some movement, feel free to use that top arm to draw a big circle up and over the head, out and around to the side. No rush, no hurry. If you'd like to bring in a little bit of movement, you might notice if the fingertips could trace a bit of the floor or your mat. And then eventually, when you feel ready, you might gently roll to the back. And take a pause here in center before you go to side two. Explore if the arms might like some space. Hands might want to rest behind the head. Maybe the arms would like to cross over the ribs or rest a hand on belly, hand on ribs. And giving yourself permission to just be right here. And if you like affirmation, if you like working with words, you might choose to say silently or out loud to yourself, I am grounded. You might use a word like supported. I am supported in this moment. I often like the word steady. In this moment, I am steady. And it's okay to stay put longer. There's no rush, no hurry. When you feel ready, you might gently rock your way over to side two. Maybe using the blanket under the head, or some people like an arm under the head. And then the top hip might rock an inch forward and an inch back. And remember, you set the pace, so it might be a little quicker, it might be a little slower. You might explore with different paces. And feeling where your body is connected to the mat or to your supports here. And feeling free to pause the rock at any point. You might use your next exhale to invite the body to soften down. And it's okay to stay put longer. It's okay to stay steady and in stillness. Or if the top arm might like to draw a few big circles up and over, down and around. Maybe with fingertips tracing the floor or the mat. You are welcome to. Eventually, when you feel ready, you might gently shift back towards your back on the mat and feel free. Maybe you can tell your body would like a little movement here. Maybe some stretches and reaches, rolls for the wrists. Or maybe your body would like to settle into a comfy, still shape. You might use your blanket here. Some folks like it under their head for a little extra comfort. Or this can be a great time to use your blanket to cover yourself up. And I'd invite you, if you do, to tuck yourself in. Feel free to tuck the edges of your blanket around if you like. For some people, that feels very comforting. For others, it feels the opposite. So if you're I'd like my foot out from under the blanket and maybe an arm too, that's okay. It's great to notice. As you tuck yourself in, take a moment and see if there's anything you could do right now to help make yourself more comfortable. And we'll take this last minute of our reset in silence. And you can take it as an opportunity to let your mind, body, and spirit integrate the benefits from this practice. Or if it feels like your mind really benefited from those affirmations, you're welcome to use those here too. So as you find the comfiest place for you to take a rest, it is okay if it's on your side or belly too. We'll begin. If you would like longer than a minute to stay here, you are welcome to stay put. If you feel ready to bring movement back, feel free to start small with hands and feet, or to bend the knees, stretch the arms, and taking any movement that feels natural, nourishing. Noticing how you feel. You might rest on one side or the other. That can help ease the transition up to seated. Eventually, you might find your way back upright. And it's okay if you want to keep your blanket. As you find a seat, feel free to offer your body any movement here that feels supportive. And maybe once again, noticing where your body is connected to your supports. And then to close this practice, if you'd like, you might rest your hands together near the heart. You might rest your hands on the heart. Take a moment here to acknowledge yourself. for taking the time and making the effort to do this practice, to offer yourself a grounded reset, honoring yourself with some self-care. And I would like to thank you for taking the time to do that too.